guys who are going through the same, they're very conscious of their own body parts right now. So there's never been that angle. You've never seen.
No, that doesn't happen to us. Because I'll tell you, for two reasons. One, the first day of our medical college is anatomy, and we are into a dissection hall where there are tables of cadavers, preserved cadavers, and you are cutting through them and seeing each nerve, each muscle, each artery, each vein, bone, whatever.
This is MBBS.
That's MBBS. The first day that you join MBBS, you enter the dissection hall, that is the anatomy class. And we are all toppers from our various schools that reach there to that level. And we see people fainting there.
Did you think?
No. So I will tell you a small story to allow. There was this guy who was a very happy guy, and he was the hockey captain of our class team in college. Third year, we were posted in neighborhoods, so we used to take deliveries. So we were, at the end of our MBBS, we are supposed to take deliveries, because MBBS means you're a doctor, you're posted in a post, and we are supposed to look after at least the deliveries at minimum. So we are posted in the labor room, and we are standing like this, 4 boys like this, in the gynecology labor room ward, and there is a sudden gush of blood, and the baby comes out, and we hear a thud. And this is a 95 kg man standing with me, 20-year-old boy. He's on the floor because he could never go. But now he's a neurosurgeon in the United States. But that was his first experience with blood. But I think if you allow me, I'll tell you a story why I'm like this. So I was in class 7, and we were taken to the biology lab, and there was a jar which was empty. There were a few jars which were empty. I asked the biology teacher, I was in class 7. I said, why are these jars empty? He said, because we don't have specimens enough. So if you bring some specimen, I put it here. I said, fine. I went home, I could sleep. I said, what kind of specimen can I bring to my teacher? Because I love my school, I love my biology, I love everything. So next day when I was going, actually the school was in Air Force compound, and I was coming from outside. So I entered the Air Force compound, and I saw a few guards standing on the roadside, and there was a long stick, and they were filling a quota. So way back in 1974, 75. So I looked at it, I said, what are you going to do with this? It was a 6 feet long quota. So they said, what will I do? We will just throw it, and some bird will come, some people will go, or we'll leave it. I said, can you take it? I said, yes, I can. So I picked up the quota there. I was standing tall, 4 feet 6 inches, with a cobra 6 feet long. And I went to the school. So I was the center of the activity in the school. So all the boys, girls standing there, and I'm holding cobra in hand. And suddenly I'm asking for where is the biology teacher? I brought a specimen. And suddenly somebody comes and slaps me. And I look at me, the principal standing there. A very nice gentleman. He's no longer there. His son was a friend of mine. And he said, what are you doing here? I said, sir, biology never told me that we need a specimen, so I brought a specimen. So he said, suppose this is alive. I said, no, they're killed. You know. And then you got the jar and you put it in, and the lab assistant took the formaldehyde into it and it started moving. Yes, it was alive. Yes. So I'm that kind of person. How do you expect me to paint with the side of blood?
From real cobras to metaphor cobras. We got to get back to the subject matter.
Yes, sorry for the long answers.
But then what podcasts are, sir. I want to ask you about that same surgery again.
Yes.
That one where the guy cut off his own penis and threw it in the commode.
That's right.
Okay. You told the relative to put it in saline water and put it in a bag of ice. So it stayed fresh. It didn't rot. Parallelly, I'm assuming that guy's body was bleeding a lot from down there because there's a lot of blood vessels.
That's right. So they tied it. I told them to tie it, make a bandage, because they went to the nearest nursing home. Somebody just tied it and put a bandage. We have what is called dynoplast, which is a very stiff plastic. It has an elastic thing. We just put it in, it sticks, and you just hold on. That's how.
What about his balls?
They were that.
Nothing, he didn't do anything.
No, he didn't. So he used the old style shaving blades. There are 2 edges, right blade.
Oh my god.
So he used that kind of blade.
And he would have cut it like a piece of wood. Oh god. Did you ever ask him why? Like what was it?
He was not in this state of mind to answer this, because nobody in senses would do that. So he was under treatment for schizophrenia.
So he was basically going through some kind of a brain situation.
That's right.
Which was making him hallucinate or something that
he must have been angry with himself. He may have, I do not know the story, but he may have been following a girl, he may have got married, so he thought this is useless. This is the simplest plausible explanation, something like this.
I think a lot of guys associate the self-belief with their penises.
That's right.
Right?
That's
I think
absolutely
men in general.
That's right.
At some age they do, and then after a point you realize, oh, life is much more than this.
That's true. But then at that age, they have nothing else to compare.
How old was he?
He was 24, something like that.
Okay. And now as a surgeon, that guy's fully wrapped up. You get a bag of ice with his cobra inside it. How do you figure what the first step is in fixing? You give that guy anesthesia.
Of course, he's taken in for anesthesia. We open the dressing under anesthesia, ready to clamp any vessel that bleeds or spurts, because penis is a very vascular organ, so it loses blood. It is supposed to take a lot of blood. The blood supply is there. So the moment you open up, there will be a
Fountain.
Fountain.
Literally a fountain.
It is actually.
So when he was lying down, there's like blood squirting out.
So we just hold it. We have our technique to hold it. So what we do is we just we have a kind of instrument, we call it an artery forceps, we keep it ready, the moment it opens, we clamp it.
It's like a plug, like
No, it is like a clip, or like a hair clip, suppose something like that, so you just clip it.
you're talking about the hole that was left in place of the penis.
No, the individual arteries there.
Oh my god. So if you go in and
Just hold them with each of them, then prepare them.
But there's been a protocol in the world of penis surgery when these kind of situations have happened earlier where someone's penis gets cut off.
Very rare. And there was one report from Australia where it was reported that this happened. But then later on, in those days we didn't have the computers, we didn't have those so many web internet to search. And I also moved on into more cases.
Let's talk about this specifically. I'm just trying to understand your world a little bit more. So you clamp up all
Yes.
the blood vessels, then what's the surgical protocol?
So the next is to wash that, remove all the dirt, wash it generously because you don't want any infectability. And then we have an antibiotic solution. So it might be or what we call a wide spectrum antibiotic solution. So there was mucosine or another ciprofloxacin solution that we made in this, added streptomycin. At that time we had a lot of streptomycin because so we used those things, made a solution, hit that organ there, made sure that it kills all the germs. Fortunately, this penis has a cavity which is filled with blood. That is how it gets erected. So that is all open. It is like a sponge. So it's actually like a sponge. So when you put it into that solution, it absorbs all this water, the solution of antibiotics, and it was washed. And then slowly we stitched each artery and vein and the layers of the penis, the urine tract, the urinary tube, because that is also transected through which the urine passes. So the penis has a structure like this. It has two corpora cavernosa, two bodies like this, which cause erection, and the third body houses the urethra, the passage of urine. So it is cut. There are actually three structures in a transverse section.
3 pipes.
You can say that there are 2 cylinders and a small pipe called urethra, which is housed in a spongy tissue so that it can, when it erects, it has a capability of lengthening, elongating, and widening.
So the surgical protocol was you basically refix the pipes.
Exactly.
That's it.
Plumbing.
Damn.
So somebody asked me what kind of doctor are you? So I said I'm the plumber.
Wow. Love it.
I'm a urologist. So I deal with the reservoir, I deal with the valves, I deal with the conduit.
Okay. How long was the surgery?
So that lasted 4.5 hours.
4.5 hours. To stitch up one pipe at a time, etc. etc. If the same surgery was happening in 2024, how long would you?
It would have taken maybe a little shorter because now we have the availability of microscopes. At that time I used loupe, but otherwise now we have microscopes, so you have much finer instruments, you have much finer suture material, the threads to stitch. So that makes things easier.
I've had 2 surgeries in my life. Fortunately, not on the cobra, but on my shoulders. For some judo injuries, and they were pretty intense surgeries. You have to stay in hospital for like 3-4 days. The surgeon comes and meets you post the surgery and just gets an update in terms of how you're feeling. All that. If the listeners have not gone through the surgery, let me have a shot at describing what it's like when you are operated upon. Have you been operated upon for anything?
Yes.
Okay. So please correct me if I'm wrong if you have another experience. But you totally know when you wake up from surgery, there's 2 things that happen. One, for me, I've had 3 surgeries totally in my life. I've hallucinated every day because of the anesthesia. You see hallucinations? Okay, fair. I want to know about this. The second thing is you totally know that your body has been cut open and something has happened inside. You're very conscious of that body part. You kind of feel like there's a fluid build-up inside. You're hallucinating. You do feel a little sick almost. You feel like something's wrong. You get maybe a little fever, etc. 2 questions. One, tell me about this specific guy because there's also schizophrenia mixed. So when he would have woken up, I don't know what would have been going on in his own head because what if he had woken up in his normal personality and realized that his schizophrenic personality had cut off his penis. So what was that experience like talking to him? Secondly, what was your mentality? Third, was he in pain?
So I'll answer all the 3 questions. The first is that my mentality, I'll tell you, was that he should cut it again. So we needed to put restrainers. So we put restrainers to the ring. The second was to give some kind of injectable psychotropic drugs which keep him calm because this was There are different ones. So some kind of haloperidol is something which is what we use. Semmelweis is the treatment. And we also were very clear in getting a psychiatrist, evaluating him immediately after he woke up. And he was fortunately, before he came to us, he had been administered something like a painkiller with a psychotropic effect. So he was calm when he came to us. And he was willing for a surgery, which was extremely rare to find. I was thinking that he would be fighting when he came, but he did not. So he submitted himself for the repair. That was the best thing that could have happened on that day. And next day morning when I'm talking to him, and we don't broach the topic, I don't ask him why did he do it. My job is to go and tell him only positive. I went and told him, look, you're absolutely fine. You're young again. So don't even think that something has gone wrong. You haven't done anything wrong. There was something that went wrong and I fixed it. And in all probabilities it will work. So don't even think. And what would you like to eat? So chole bhature, or something like that. So that is the whole idea. When you're actually looking at the patient, he's in a lot of trouble. You need to distract him from feeling pain and discomfort. And the best thing that I find is you offer them what they want to eat. For example, it's a kid, you get an ice cream for him or a chocolate for him. It's an adult, if he's a Punjabi, we tell him chole bhature. So we tell them what do you want to eat. So that is the thing. And once you offer something to it, so then he knows that yes, I am at home. I am arrived.
Because that's when the body can begin healing.
That's right. Positivity is the extreme. See, we started with the talk that I said that there's a power that heals. That power is driven away by negativity and is brought in by positivity. My job after the surgery, I've done my job as a craftsman, but my job is to make sure that it heals. And the way it heals is that the person has to be absolutely positive. So I go to the room, I crack jokes, I talk about the weather, I talk about his other things, and I make him walk, and I talk about what he wants to eat.
What was he saying about this whole thing? Did we address it at all?
Yes. So before he was discharged, I told him that, look, you did something which you shouldn't have done. And I'm sure you understand that. He said yes. And I told him, look, I've been able to fix it. God has been very kind to both of us. But make sure that you protect it. Because it is your responsibility to protect it. And it is no longer yours because you have cut it and thrown it. It is my penis that I'm handing it over to you. So this is mine. And I'm giving it to you to protect it. Will you do that? He said yes. And that's how it is.
When we make a mistake professionally, my protocol is always you go back to the mistake to understand why it's done and you respond to the situation. I'm assuming that his mistake was that he didn't take his psychiatric medication. Therefore, he went into that
aggressive phase.
Right? That's the mistake.
Most likely, yes.
So your call to action to him was, listen, just take care of your brain first, because this might happen. Correct? Okay. Other question that I have for you related to the same case is, the penis has a lot of nerve endings. That's why the sex organ in the first place. Now, you can repair the pipes, you can repair the skin, etc. How do you ensure that the nerves also get repaired? Because he's cut through the nerves also. So did he even have sensation?
He did. So body is great. Nature is great. One of the best computers is the human body, or any living being on earth, whether it's plants or animals. They've been bestowed upon by mechanisms which protect them. Life doesn't go easily, even if you try to take it up. We are very tenacious. Life is very tenacious. It's not easy. Similarly, at that time I did not repair nerves because I didn't have the microscope or something. But in nature grows, there's something called nerve growth factor. That is there. So whenever the nerve is cut, the nature brings in what is called nerve growth factors. The vascular growth, VGF and NGF. And these are the growth factors which perpetuate. And he was young, he was 22.
Is this like precursor to nerve tissue?
Yes. So it allows the nerves to grow. So the nerves will start growing here. There are nerves here. Because they are vascularized, they don't die, but the structure is there. So these nerves will come and they will find another nerve and get into it. So they'll bridge. The only problem is if something like that happens to your main switch. So when you switch on the fan, it is the light that switched on. So there can be cross connection. Oof, beyond that, nothing else. Which means the sensation which should be traveling to your brain as a pleasure turns into a pain.
Oh my God.
That is the only thing that we have to be worried about.
Because the nerve, instead of connecting to the same pleasure receptor, connects to a pain receptor.
That's right.
Oh, so what happened in his case?
He was fine.
So nothing went wrong?
No, he had sexual activity after that. He used to children.
But you've seen cases where the feeling of sex hurts a guy's penis.
Yes.
which is exactly a situation like this where the nerve is actually joining with the pain receptor.
It is actually not post-surgical, but patients who have diabetes or diabetic neuropathies or a neuropathy for another cause.
This is neuropathy.
Neuropathy is any disease of nerves is neuropathy.
Okay.
So a nerve disease of so there is a nerve ending which is going into the penis and it is touching the glands, and somebody is touching the glands and a pleasurable sensation is going to go back through the nerve. But here the nerve is under inflammation. So it takes that pleasurable sensation into pain. So patients keep complaining that there is a painful pricking sensation in the penis. And that is very usual. I see it very often, once in a fortnight in a diabetic man.
So it's something that gets created over time.
It is injury to the nerve. There is inflammation to the nerve.
Due to a diabetic bodies.
Diabetes.
Important to take care of your health.
That's right.
Like it can affect you down there.
Yes.
Imagine just overnight one day you wake up in the same feeling that was giving you pleasure once upon a time, now you see this pain.
That's right.
Next time you're thinking of having that cake, just think of this moment from this podcast. Oh my God, sir. Alright. I want to talk a little bit more about this nerve tissue situation from a biological perspective. Okay?
Yes.
Now, the process of sexual activity is meant to be pleasurable.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And that pleasure happens because of pleasure-based nervous pathways.
That's right.
Right? So if you're in the act of sex, your penis is sending back a pleasure-based signal to your brain that this is good to it. So that's nature's way of procreation, so that you create kids. And of course, then people use sex as recreation also for the same reason. My question is, why aren't nerves like that present in your hands? Okay, or maybe other question I want to ask is, you know how, okay, comparing it to the female body, girls have more pleasurable points. Guys usually just have one, but the truth is that we had a sexologist also on the show long ago. She said that actually even guys have pleasurable points, but lots of men don't even know that certain points are pleasurable because they've not explored it sexually. Now I'm actually asking you this both from a sex perspective and a biology perspective. So the same pleasure-based nerve pathways that are present in the penis, are they also present on say your back, your earlobes, your neck?
Yes.
And it's different for different men, like based on their biology. That's why being loved in those points gives you pleasure.
See, if you look at a sensation, there are various sensations which we are taught as individual students. So there is a touch, pain, temperature, vibration. These are the pressure. These are the 5 sensations that the nerves are supposed to get. Touch is a sensation which can be always pleasurable unless it is a rough touch. So we are talking about touch. We are not talking about pressure, pain, or pinch or something. So it is about your brain being wired. For example, I'll give you an example. So when you are with your loved ones and she's touching you, wherever she touches you, it is going to give you pleasure. Whereas, suppose you are standing in a crowded place and somebody touches you, you may just slap. The touch remains the same. It is about the wiring and the final interpretation in our cerebral cortex. What? Because the touch is going to go into the cerebral cortex for processing. And after the processing, the brain decides, or your psyche, or your wiring decides how to react to it. You can derive pleasure out of it, or you can, derive offense out of it and react accordingly. So somebody rightly said, whatever you mentioned was right, that the male nipples are actually more pleasurable than the female nipples.
As in, male bodies derive more pleasure from the nipples being stimulated.
That's right. That's right. So it is only that women don't know, so they don't do it, and men, they're hardly bothered because they're bothered more about procreation. They are wired in that.
I think for men and women, at least what I have understood based on all the people you had on the show and conversations with friends, I think sex is very different as an activity. I think for a lot of men, it's just about the final result. It's just about the final orgasm, and both for themselves and their partners. Like there are guys who actually care about the partner's orgasm also, and who prioritize that in sex. Often girls will say that these are less kind of male sex partners. But the actual fundamental key differences for men's sex is about the orgasms, theirs and their partners. But for women, it's about the whole process. They care about even like the conversation you have before the sex, the whole process is prioritized much more than the final orgasm.
That's absolutely right.
But there must be some biology in this also.
Of course.
In terms of, I would just assume either girls are more in sync with their own nervous system, or girls are more nerve endings. Like they say the olfactory system of a woman is much more developed. That's why they can smell perfumes like much more deeply and they can pick up on scents much more. But I'm sure this spreads across the body. There's got to be some biology.
Yes. So You've asked so many questions in one set. I need to answer each of them. Sorry,
Take your
I'm
time.
called a professor, so I'm supposed to dissect out each statement,
Go for
each
it.
word.
Go for it.
So first thing you said is that it is the behavior which is different from men and women. If you go back to, say, thousands of years in the cave era, men were supposed to go hunting. It would take 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, 7 days, but they would come back with a bounty. They would give it to the woman. The woman would divide it amongst the children and make sure that the neighboring woman's child doesn't come and harm. That is how the cave was. Men needed to procreate. They had little time left. So they would procreate. So men are wired to have sex, quickly ejaculate and go finish. Women on the other hand, imagine that her man is away for a hunt. If she is easily stimulated into sexual activity, there will be so many men who can come into her. So as a protective thing, the women are wired in such a manner that they need to be stimulated at more than one center, maybe multiple centers before they are ready for sex.
Biologically, does this mean more nerve endings in other words?
That's right. So they are all together. Only then she would want somebody to have sex. For example, if you understand what a quickie means, a man is always ready for a quickie, but the woman would resist.
And it actually boils down to the nervous system.
Yes, and the reason why that is, I just told you the reason. It is difficult to get a woman into sex for that reason, because she needs to be wired. The ambience should be good. If there is dirt around, the house is in disorder, or it is smelling bad, as you mentioned, olfactory, eye, ear, everything. Only then a woman would be ready for sex. That is why you have to woo a woman, because that is the biology.
I'm assuming a part of your job is also to kind of give sex food.
Yes, it is.
Could you encapsulate that in 5 words? Like, what do you usually tell us?
So I tell you,
In India, especially.
yeah, we talk. Okay, we have so many things, but I'll tell you one. This you just mentioned about men who are worried about their orgasm and partner's orgasm. So there are couples who come to me and they say that look, we are trying for a baby, and the gynecologist has said that we must have sex on these 2 days, 14 to 16 days of our period. But during those 2 days, I can't have an erection. So what is that? So you have to understand that it is a pleasurable act. So when you make a pleasurable act as an act of performance, that means you're taking away the pleasure of the pressure. So you're taking away the pleasure. So the glans penis is supposed to get stimulated. It goes to the mind, and mind sends the signal for the erection to persist, and gets more stimulated, and again it goes back to this mind and the brain, and it gets another stimulus to stay erect. But what happens if you are not thinking about that pleasure? So you are pleasure to bhagna. So you are not worried about the pleasure. So the boy is worried about ovulation time, fertilization. So there's no pleasure there. So he's doing performing a duty. So when you take away the pleasure, the performance goes. And then he's into a vicious cycle. So there's a poor performance and there is a guilt. Because the guilt is going to come out and say, what the hell have you done? You spoiled my evening. And you're not able to fertilize my eggs. Then he goes into depression. And from depression, he then takes some courage and again approaches the woman for sexual activity. But then in the back of his mind, he has pre-performance anxiety, which happens to a lot of
जल्दी तो फिर जल्दी नंबर लग जाता समय लगा देखिए ध्यान निकला मम्मी फिर से
every guy I've ever spoken to has gone through this.
So pre-performance anxiety will give performance. And the whole vicious cycle, the fourth thing. So poor performance, guilt.
वो इस कम में नहीं है अभी यूजलेस हाँ
Pre-performance anxiety, then poor performance. So it's a vicious cycle. So most of these people come to us like that.
We had Dr. Vijayan on the Hindi podcast. He spoke about this in jail. And the basic outcome is you actually need the partner to be attractive. Just to give comfort, give nurturing. Sometimes it even takes a few months for a guy to get out of that performance anxiety cycle. But once he's out for it. So you actually need the girl to give verbal cues that it's okay, be calm. Is that what you see?
So I'll come to this. Sure. So this cycle, vicious cycle, published in the morning, 27, so sexual. This is very So there are two situations. When a couple comes to me in this, there's a woman who's very harsh. So she's not supposed to go to school. So there's a boy who can't answer what is school question. Because if he answers wrong, he's going to get a stick. Now tell me, how can this man have elections with this woman in this situation? So you're absolutely right. We need to, in such a situation, counsel the good. So many times they will be understand. But in today's time, in the last 20 years perhaps, you have changed. They have their rights, they're aware of their rights. Last week only I had a patient at home, the woman said that we are not only going to have the whole life with me. How will you understand? There are couples who have been together since, say, mid school, high school. They never had sex, they get married, and the boy is not able to perform, and the woman leaves. Now, you need to find out. So what I do is I put them together and I ask them, do you want to patch up or do you not want to patch up? So if you want to patch up, the first step is the very first step that I accept is that you have come all the way, even my appointment, sitting in front of you means that you want to patch up. So if you want to patch up, then we are waiting for it. My problem is that you are sitting with me for 15 minutes. But next time they will come out here being that you have 1 week minus 15 minutes to be with her. So I can't do everything in 15 minutes. I'll take one step, you perhaps have to take 90 minutes. So unless you are willing to take those steps, I can't treat you. And this is very important. So this is the counseling for women. There are women who will say, okay, I'm willing to do that. There are women who will say, to hell with it. So we have both kinds. We have all kinds of this one. Apart from this, there is a pharmacological agent that I use. So before I go to pharmacology, I'm not going to be a proponent of alcohol. But alcohol inhibits the inhibitions. Inhibits the inhibitions. So if you ask these couples, the couples that we are talking about, that if they have a drink or two, just a drink or two, they will perform much better. But if they have 6 drinks, then there's a problem. That's what the Shakespeare said. Alcohol will increase desire and reduce performance. But first 30 to 60 ml, it inhibits the inhibitions, and that is exactly what we need. So we need to try to do that. I'm not a proponent of alcohol, but you will see that your friends who can take it, who take it, tell them to take it, and you will see the difference. Second is, we have a pharmacological agent which inhibits the inhibitions. So I use that.
रील देखा तो इंटरेस्ट आ गया पढ़ाई वाली रील्स देखने पढ़ाई में इंटरेस्ट आएंगे पढ़ाई वाले भी रील देखा ना लेकिन इसमें ज़्यादा इंटरेस्ट आया
And it works. So there's a tablet, it's a very cheap tablet. It's actually 1950s old tablet. Nobody uses it these days. It's an antidepressant. Nobody uses it, but we have wonderful antidepressants for R&D and then many other things. I use it because it has a side effect that it causes erection. That's the trazodone. So the side effect of this drug is erections. I use the side effect. So that is
Visualize the depressed guy in the 1950s taking an antidepressant and then.
that is how it was found.
Really?
Yes, if you look at the pharmacology books, we read what is called Lawrence pharmacology, and there's a story about it. Because this banker who went and reported this. So we are involved in this. So that's how it is.
Sad about freaking life and suddenly all of it was like, what?
So when I was doing my third year MBBS, when we were taught pharmacology, that was the day I realized that I didn't use this many once, and I did that, and I still doing it. Published it in the section medicine. So that's how it is. Yeah.
And sometimes I think in situations like that, like I've had so many bros of mine confide in another brother. That's what you do because you don't know who to talk to.
Exactly.
So a lot of bros come and say, listen, I'm having this issue. In most of the cases, 99% of the cases, the guy is usually anxious about his job. He's an anxious guy in general. That anxiety is making its way to the bedroom. And as a bro, all you tell him is, listen, it happens to every guy. Chill. And it'll be a phase that you'll get past. Just you need your partner to support. If that partner supports you, you can go through a lot.
Exactly.
That's the bottom line.
That is the partner has to be the important person. I take the fees, I take the credit, the treatment has to be done by the partnership. Very clear.
In India especially, what other kind of sex do you need to give people? Because this problem is actually very common, we just spoke about. Performance anxiety. Is performance anxiety the most common?
Yes. So I will tell you, I will give you the history of what is written in the books. So in 1980s, it was thought, till 1980s, it was thought that 90% of erectile dysfunction, I'm quoting Western literature, 90% of erectile dysfunction is functional. That is, there's nothing wrong with the organ. And 10% is there is a problem with the organ, for example, diabetes or something.
Which is what we spoke about, the pain.
That's right. Diabetes causes sclerosis or fibrosis or obstruction of the blood vessels, so that there's no blood supply. It causes inflammation of the nerve, so that there is no sensation. There is no blood supply, there is no sensation, so organ has to, eventually cannot perform.
Diabetes is basically like it's eating your body from the inside.
That's right. It's a dreadful disease.
Cool.
So till 1980s, the Western literature talked about 90% being functional, we call it, or psychogenic, and 10% being organic, means there's a problem with the organ. And 1980s, we started having what is called benign implants. So the literature in 2010 would tell you that 90% is organic and 10% is psychogenic. That's the Western literature. So how does it change? Obviously, I'm not blaming anybody, but then there are forces which are industry driven. And imagine, it is easier for me to treat a couple like this by putting an implant rather than trying to convince the lady that you have to support.
Please correct me if what I'm going to say is wrong. What you're effectively saying is there are lots of problems related to sex. All those problems boil down to erection or the lack of it. In most cases, it's actually psychological, where the guy is just really anxiety, what we just spoke about. But there's a lot of money to be made in this industry by the pharma companies and by people who make implants. Therefore, they push for research that suggests that if you're having trouble getting an erection, either get an implant or take a medicine for it. Is that what you're trying to say?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'll give you a small story. So I used to go for it after I started my practice. I used to go to a place 500 kilometers from New Delhi, and I used to conduct an OPD there, and there was a big army cantonment there. So one day, there was this soldier who came and saluted in very crisp uniform. He said, "Sir, I am going on leave tomorrow." I said, "That's very good, you should go." Then this young soldier tells me, "Sir, but I don't have erection." I said, "How do you know? Are you with your family here?" He says, "No, my family is back home, and I'm going to go and face my wife, but I've lost my erections." So I said, "How do you know that you lost the erections?" So he said, "I was guarding my commanding officer's luggage on the railway platform, and there was this sadhu who was sitting across the railway line, and he called me, and he held my wrist and told me, he actually palpated my pulse and told me, तेरा तो खड़ा नहीं होगा, means you don't have erections." And from that day onwards, I stopped having erections. Now, you must understand, we were talking about psychogenic imbalance. In United States, if somebody tells a United States Army soldier that you are not having erections, the first reaction will be to punch his face. In India, we are so vulnerable to suggestions by so-called sadhus or whatever religious people that whatever they say is gospel truth. And we are willing to make ourselves vulnerable and accept that suggestion. So this is a damage by suggestion, a psychological damage by suggestion. So this guy says, "No sir, that Sadhu Baba has told me it will not happen, so it is not happening. So give me boost with it for me, otherwise I will die, because my wife is going to accept me." So coming back to the story of the psychogenic versus organic. So we have so many reasons for having psychogenic inputs.
What did you do for that soldier? Gave him some?
No, there are ways. So what we do is I talk to him. I gave him that tablet because I knew that it is just I have to inhibit the negative part. So inhibit the inhibition. So inhibition of sex is a negative part. So we inhibit the inhibition. And this is a test. So we put what is called a vasoactive substance, and we put it in the penis with a small fine needle inject, and he has a erection. Because this is vasogenic. So vasogenic.
Did that too?
I did it so that he sees that he's in it. I said, "Look, your organ is fine. There's absolutely no reason. Go home and enjoy." He smiled, saluted, and went back. That's all. Never seen him again.
Did he have a boner when he went to it? Genuine question.
No. We tell them they cannot walk out like this. They have to masturbate, ejaculate, and I have to see that the erection has come down. Because I have created the erection. It is my responsibility to see that the erection doesn't last longer enough to cause it damage to the organ. Because persistent erections are causing damage to the organ.
Okay, now go on. You're talking about the studies.
Yes. So I was trying to tell you that the distinction between psychogenic and organic erections. So the psychogenic erections, obviously we in India have a lot of issues which create a lot of psychogenic erections. For example, I just talked about suggestion. I talked about friends talking in the school or college or high school that look, you had a girl, you had a girl. Then they tell, okay, you don't have, man, you haven't had sex. I go, oh my God, you must be useless. This guy is useless. Then he has a guilt. Like, oh my God, perhaps I'm not good enough with a woman. That's why no girl comes near me. But that's how it is. So he is actually, he's drowned in his own guilt and he'll never have an erection. So he is a kind of introvert. So we have a lot of people like that. They come to us so many times. Maybe married people, we arranged marriage, will come. The girls' parents, the boys' parents, they're all there. 4 people there, 2 people. And when I talk individually, each partner, I ask this to the boy, what is wrong with you? So, sir, honestly, I can tell you, I never talked to her, and I'm scared to touch her. And her presence makes me so nervous that I can't have an erection. And this is not something that I'm talking about a story. This happens more often than you can think. So then I have to just tell the girl that you're very lucky to have a boy like this. I have to tell the parents that your boy is absolutely fine. We're doing something and we'll be fine. No more tests. Now,
I don't get parents get involved in this.
No, they do. In India, so India is a very big country. I just gave you an example. Nothing like this can happen in any other country. That somebody sitting across a railway line and calling and telling that you don't have erections, you stop having erections. So that's a suggestion that we are vulnerable. So, what is my practice? My practice is very simple. So how to differentiate between psychogenic and organic erections? They're very simple. So if I ask one person that when you wake up in the morning, do you have hard-ons or not? So if you are having hard-ons or spontaneous erections, that means your machine is absolutely fine.
And
Don't
don't
get to worry.
in what age?
Any age.
Even when you're 50, 60, 70, you still get hard on
The frequency decreases. A lot depends upon testosterone. You cannot decide what is the age at which you will be hard. Can you have an age? No. At what age will you have a gray hair? Do you have an age? No. So it is not like that. This is individual. So those people who exercise and continue to exercise, their testosterone is high. So whether it is a male or a female, somebody who is a sports person is likely to have a higher sex appeal because the testosterone, even in female in that case, is high. And the role of testosterone in females is sexual activity, which not many people know. So, for example, somebody got a Viagra from men. They say somebody who discovers a Viagra for women will be making women.
Why?
I just told you, to get a woman to bed, you have to touch all the points. There are so many things. So, it is difficult to get a woman to arouse. So, women they have a slow arousal as compared to men.
But there's also an art to it which many guys refuse to learn.
That's okay. But suppose instead of learning that art, there's a tablet that you put here. So that tablet, imagine how much it is going to be. You just have to take a tablet for a woman and she's with you. So the point is that there is a different biology. But in men, if you have erections which are spontaneous, which are morning erections, then first thing is clear. I need no more of this. Your organ is fine. There's only a disconnection between your organ and the brain. So basically, your organ has a mind of its own. It will erect, but not with your efforts or your wish. So it has its own wish and command. It's not under your command. So there's a disconnection and we need to solve that. So we'll solve that.
In most cases, a psychology. That's been the underlying theme here. This is such an important conversation because a lot of guys are just going through the same performance anxiety problem, a lot of guys, without hearing this conversation. And it is something. I want to actually talk a little bit about testosterone also, because if you truly focus on increasing your resting levels of testosterone, I would assume that problems like this, performance anxiety, won't arise as much. Because testosterone is linked to so many other positive functions of the body also. I think it is a hormone that should be spoken about more. Every man at least should be educated on how to increase his testosterone levels. So I'm going to have a go at it. Please add stuff to it. And this is based on an episode of Dr. Huberman that I researched upon for the sake of an elaborate testosterone video that I've done. It boils down to the basics: clean food, high protein intake, lots of movement, ideally a competitive sport. That's been like a recent study. All these things over time compound, and generally your testosterone levels stay good up till the age of 50. And right now in America, for a lot of guys post 50, this is a very common conversation that they do something called TRT, which is under the guidance of someone like us, testosterone replacement therapy. Before I ask the doctor for his inputs, I need to tell the audience that again, all the doctors we've spoken to, the lifestyle factors are effectively the same. And you guys know all these lifestyle factors, with exercise, clean food, etc. The only added factor is a competitive score. You're able to play a competitive game of football once a week, basketball, cricket. When you want to win, for some reason that's shown an increase in testosterone. Anything else you'd like to add, sir?
So, testosterone is the food for the body. So, suppose you are not utilizing it, body stops producing it. So, either use it or lose it.
Use it for exercise.
Yes. So, what does the body need? Why should you have testosterone and women shouldn't have testosterone? What does testosterone do to you? It gives you muscle, broad shoulders, strong bones. What are they supposed to do? You're supposed to exercise with them. You're supposed to go fight. You're supposed to go to war. You're supposed to go to hunt, swim. So if you don't do that, you're not using your testosterone. So the body, as I said, is a wonderful computer. This guy doesn't need it, right? So take it out.
People, if you're lazy, just sitting at home all day watching TV, the body will reduce your testosterone.
If you're watching TV, the testosterone reduces faster.
Even if you're watching porn.
Yes.
Just a thought experiment. Go on.
because you are training to produce, to recreate hair. If you are with a woman, then that job is being done by the woman. Here you are trying to recreate that of yourself. That is the problem with testosterone. So testosterone has a lot of functions, as we just mentioned. And if you don't use it, you will lose it. So how do you exercise? So there is something called basal metabolic rate. Now you have a basal metabolic rate. It's like the RPM, the revolutions per unit of a motor car. So you have an idling car, it has an RPM of 800 to say 1000 RPM. So that engine will run. And it will consume a certain amount of fuel. So now when you give a raise, it goes to 1500. So the fuel consumption increases. So suppose give a raise, it goes to 1500. So the fuel consumption increases. So suppose you are getting up in the morning and you are exercising. So you are revving up your metabolic rate. Your RPM increases from 800 to 1000 to maybe 2000 if you are jogging in the morning or swimming. And during the day, since you are working, you are not coming back to rest, you are going to office or you are going to your work. It stays, the basal rate may go up to 200 RPM, 2000 RPM, and then comes down to maybe 1600, 1800, 1400, which is much more than 800 that we woke up with. And then suppose you add on a physical activity, you have to run after something, or you have to rush, or you have to cycle, or you have to do something. It again goes from 1400 to 1800. Now imagine if you have not gone for a exercise in the morning, you woke up with 800, so you are lingering between 800 and 1800 and 1000. And if I ask you to put an effort, you would be unwilling to put an effort. And even if you put an effort, your RPM is not going to go beyond say 1200. Because the basal metabolic rate was 800. Now we add another factor, is this thing. So we have what is called a body clock, which runs with sun. So we have the pineal gland, we have the hypothalamus, and we have the melatonin, and we have the luteinizing hormone, which is released from the pituitary, goes to the testes and increases the testosterone. So there is a peak of the luteinizing hormone, releasing hormone from the hypothalamus, which is controlled by the circadian rhythm, which is at 4:30 a.m.
Sleeper.
In India, in our history or in our mythology or whatever, it is called vodka. That is the main time that you have the peak of LHRH or luteinizing hormone, releasing hormone from the hypothalamus. It goes to the pituitary, which is the luteinizing hormone, which goes to the testes and kicks it to produce testosterone. Now imagine we are doing an exercise and an activity when the testosterone peak is there. So you have an inflow of testosterone, you are using it at that time. So next day morning, the hypothalamus knows this guy needs more testosterone, so he pumps in more.
Wow.
Now, if you are not doing it, the hypothalamus also thinks this guy is not going to use testosterone, so let it be around 80. His RPM is 800 per thousand, so why should I give him another fuel? So there's no testosterone which I use. Coming back to another thing, I'm sorry, it is not against people who exercise at night. that they don't have an option. If you don't have an option, you can still exercise. But what is better, morning or evening? Suppose at night you come from office and you go for an exercise, you go to the gym and you have revved up your RPM from say 1,000 to 2,000. After 2 hours, you're going to sleep. So the advantage that you have during the day, that you revved up your RPM to 2,000, and it stayed 2,000 because you were working. You were moving around in the office, anywhere, wherever you are working, you are actually, RPM is still high. Against, you raise it to 2,000, go for sleeping 2 hours, with that whole effort is gone waste. Technically.
So effectively giving very easy hacks to increase your testosterone.
Yes.
And the hack is sleep early, wake up early, work out in the morning. Like Akshay Kumar. That's why his voice is like that. Actually, the way Akshay Kumar lives, eats, goes about life, is a good representation of a high testosterone brain.
Yes.
I would argue. Right? Like just healthy living.
This is.
There's also a report, I know, Tiger Shroff spoke about this. He said that he doesn't drink because it shakes up your testosterone levels, even once at your brain.
Yes. So anything that puts your RPM to downwards, like alcohol, you can't even balance yourself. That is the state of your muscles. So your RPM may be falling below 800. So obviously the testosterone consumption is not there. The body computer says, oh, this guy doesn't need a testosterone, so stop producing it. And there's another issue. Suppose you've been a football player. So I see a lot of times. So there's this guy, I'll give you a story. It's an interesting story. So there were two people who got married because they used to be playing tennis together. Now they were playing tennis together, they were 25 and 35 years courtship, then they said, okay, we get married. They have a good sex appetite, they have a good testosterone, both. And now this guy is a banker. And at 35, he wants to become the vice president of the group. It was working very hard. So he's putting in 40 hours on the chair. He stopped.
have paid my respects to Pune traditions by going in the morning with me, cameraman. Bindas. Pune.
Hi, welcome to the EV Teardown Lab that has been established by Decibel's Lab. It's an amazing opportunity for us to be here and see how the automotive OEMs have developed various components which is going to their vehicles today. So we have examples to start with different batteries today that we are doing now, and these vehicles are the very well-known vehicles in the automotive EV market today. So we have the battery pack, which has been visible here, and we could get to see when you tear down the vehicle or tear down the battery as a component. You can get to see a lot of insights in terms of the design perspectives, in terms of the manufacturing perspectives, in terms of the process perspectives that's been established to create a fantastic and a wonderful product. And also when you get to tear down a component, you can get a deeper look into the design perspective and aspects of the battery management system design. And also it gives you very much insights in terms of the specific components, maybe what kind of active components and who is the manufacturer been supplying these active components to the specific OEMs as well. This kind of opportunity is there that we created this as the learning lab for give them a perspective to post, and let us just show through. Okay. So we're excited more about our new teardown lab, and that's going to be a
वाली है मैं ख्वाब वाला हूँ तू स्क्रीन वाली है मैं किताब वाला हूँ तू गोरी गोरी है मैं थोड़ा काला हूँ तू ही गोरखती है
It is 1/2.
चार्जर हो ना वो
Okay.